Mother Funny Time with Andie and Angie.
2 cousins, 8 kids, 1 grandkid, 2 states.
And a whole lot of fun. Woo! Welcome back, Mother Funny Tribe. It's Angie and Andie, and it's Mother Funny, the podcast for you moms who want to feel heard, feel seen, feel entertained for a few minutes while you're driving. I don't know. Whatever you do. Welcome
Laundry,
back.
dishes, taking one kid from one place to another.
Sometimes in the bathroom. We're not going to
School
pretend like it
drop-off.
doesn't. Is that what you call going to the bathroom?
No, I was listing stuff that moms do. What? Are you going to continue talking about that?
No.
I
was just surprised.
School pickup.
Is that what you call it?
Making dinner.
What? All these terms. I had no idea.
Going to the park.
Honey, I got to go make dinner. Okay. So today, though, we're going to talk about something very relatable to many of you moms. And if it's not relatable now, it probably will be, or it has been, or you can help someone who's been through this. But we're going to tell them what we're going to talk about, Angie.
You were doing a great job.
Okay, I'll tell
intro.
you.
I mean, this was impressive. She's like relatable. Every mom's been through it.
Dropping the kids off, picking them up. We're going to talk about bringing your children to their siblings' sports and practices. We're going to really focus on that because this is a whole, I want to call it a subculture of life. That's not the right term.
Nice.
Of things that we deal with in the mom life that aren't, I don't think they're talked about enough.
No. It's mentioned. Moms talk to other moms for sure about like, I have a baseball game and I'm taking all the kids with me.
Yes.
Or so-and-so has dance class and we're all just going to go. Like moms talk about it, but I don't think us professionals are talking about it enough. Moms can totally relate to another mom, even if it's just that idea of like, oh my gosh, I have 3 soccer games today and we're all going. And literally the mom that's hearing that is like, I got you, girl. Like, I understand. Like sometimes you don't even need to talk about it because it's like, I've been there. We get it. It's a lot for the kids. It's a lot for the moms. And let's face it, it's a lot of planning and preparing. Like when you're going to that sporting event or that practice, even the drop off and pick up, there is so much that has to be prepared for before you even get to the field. Right? Like even thinking through it, like, okay, if this practice is at 4:30 and it goes till 6:30, who's going? Where have they been before? Where do they need to go after? And when is everybody eating? Because it seems like every practice is during a mealtime.
Right? Yes.
Mealtime, snack
the hardest.
time. Or when kids are thirsty. I mean, it just is everybody's hungry and thirsty when it is a practice or a game.
You kind of have to eat dinner at like 4 or 9 p.m. There's like no in between. You're like either you're old people eating at 4 at the early bird special or you're eating at 9 o'clock like all the college kids. So it's rough. It's a rough time. I remember, I think it was your sister in the height of having all 4 kids at home and having sports being like, yeah, we don't eat dinner until 9 o'clock or 8:30. Like that's the only time we have for all of us to eat dinner together. And I don't know how long that went, but I was like, real. That's real. Because when your kids are in sports, especially when they get older, like practices are always like 5:30-ish. Like I remember in Mississippi, Shiloh had soccer practice at 5:30, which was the height of bug time. Like they would literally spray DEET all over these babies, like all over their faces, like everywhere, because it was like that's when they could do practice, and it was, it was.
I
rough.
remember when we moved to Texas, because usually in San Diego you're putting sunscreen on.
Yeah.
And I remember we moved to Texas and we're putting the bug spray on. I was like, oh, it's a different place. It's a different time.
Because people don't mess. Yeah.
Right. Between 4 and like 7 is the worst time for bugs and mosquitoes. And so, yeah, you've got to cake those kids.
In DEET.
There's some natural products, but some of those don't work.
Okay, you know what? In California, we use those natural products, But anytime I've tried them outside because we don't really have much of a bug problem, so we're like, "Oh, it works." Well, I tried to take those out of state and nothing. We were on full on poison, just covering us with poison just to stop all of the mosquito bites. In fact, we went on a hike with some friends who were originally from California and they were in Georgia. And she's like, "Oh, I have this natural oil like that works for ticks. Like put them on." So we put it on, went hiking, came back, ticks. We totally had ticks. We're like,
See, that
"Nope, we
scares
needed
me.
off deep woods is what we needed." We didn't need skin so soft. We didn't need like
That would
special oil.
work.
It does not work.
There's an Amway one that
It
works. There's,
does
like,
not
a
work.
Victoria's Secret spray, which is super random that works.
Oh.
But, yes, when it is really, really bad, especially if you're doing anything with ticks, yeah, sometimes you just gotta know, like, this is the time for
Yeah.
the
Look,
poison.
in Mississippi, we had mosquitoes and no-see-ums, and they loved the taste of Skin So Soft. They were like, "Delicious, give us more." So we were everybody was just, like, covered in toxic chemicals, but it kept the bugs away. And look, everyone seems fine as
You
adults.
live to tell the tale.
We're all alive. But that's one thing. So, like, at night, you're bringing your little ones, like, to your other kids' games, and first of all, you've got to either sunscreen if it's during the day, you got a bug spray if it's at night, and then these kids have to sit for hours, and watch the game.
Well, and you
What's it
mentioned
Go ahead.
dinner even, and it's funny you mentioned that they all ate at 9, the Averys did. We eat at 4. Literally, like,
That's so
today,
tracks.
the twins were eating dinner in Brooklyn at 4 o'clock because the twins one had dance, one had gymnastics, and then Brooklyn had her activity, and then actually Riley cheered, and then she had dance. Like, it's just a regular day. I'm not even gonna say it was a busy day. It's just a typical
It
day.
was a Tuesday.
Just another
We
day
call
for
it
us.
Tuesday.
And so, yes, my kids, they actually eat their full meal at around 4 o'clock. And it's so funny because then I have to start planning dinner. Well, I've been doing a lot with the crock pot meals. Remember, I was telling you all those like easy
Yes.
crock pot meals? I've been trying some new ones. And tonight's meal, I'm not gonna lie, it was actually pretty good. But all that to say, I have to start thinking about it in the morning for the crock pot meal, but it pretty much has to be done before I pick up Cole from preschool. Like this one needed, rice and also broccoli. I'm not putting that in the crock pot. Anyway, so it's almost like my meal is completely done by like 1:40. And that's dinner.
They're a lunch, dinner, we don't know anymore. We just
It's
eat
so
when we're
funny.
home.
And then it's like that second meal when they all get home because they've just played their sport or
Yeah.
done their activity and they're hungry. So it's almost like a second dinner, but it's not as big as the one that they ate at 4 o'clock. So it is, you have to balance that and figure that out. But then also for those kids that are like you're saying, are watching this sporting event for hours and hours and hours. Well, now they want a snack or they want a juice. And I get the idea of a concession stand, and don't get me wrong, like, I'll be working at the Cheer Booster Club concession stand, like, I'm gonna do that, but they just rake in the cash. I mean,
Well,
are
yeah.
Gatorades really $3? No, it should not be 3 or $4 for a small Gatorade.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's how you lure your other kids to come because if they come and they know there's a concession stand, you're like, "Okay, yes, this is a 2-hour or whatever practice game and it's 110 degrees outside." But the good news is you get a cold pop at the stand or you get like
A cold pop.
a cold pop. I wanted to say it like I was an old person, a cold pop or a candy or an ice or something yummy. Like that's what we always did. We're like, okay, you can get here's $2. Go get a nerd's rope. I don't know. And it helped. The concession stand is a good moneymaker for them because they know that's how we lure the other children to sit for hours.
Oh, it's true, and kids that usually would not be drinking Gatorade at 6 o'clock at night or randomly
Or in the
having a
morning.
Sprite or like chips. I'm like, what's happening here? You kind of lose all control. You do. And I mean, are the nachos really that good or the hot dogs? Probably not, but for some reason, the kids think that's, like, the best food of all time, and it's
It's
like, at
so
least we're
true.
happy.
And even us adults, like, we spend a season going watching our friend's son play high school football, and all of us at one point during the season, 'cause we go pretty regularly, would get the cheap nachos that weren't very good, but we just it was like that comfort, and you're like, "I'm at a game, and I'm eating these cheap nachos," and it just was part of it, part of the whole experience. But yes, you always need to have some cash on
Well, now the
hand.
credit card works.
I'm so
They've
glad.
updated it
It's a
since
new
your day.
world. You know how, like, stressful it would be for me when I would go somewhere and I'd be like, "I have no cash, and sorry, you can't have that dollar treat, that you were looking forward to."
Not that we were gonna talk about this, but, like, when you go to gymnastics events, like, you have to pay to watch your child participate, and
Yes.
they always require cash, and I'm like, "Really? Really, cash?
Really?
$15 per person?"
In this
And
day and
it's
age?
expensive. So, I mean, we kind of like, "Okay, who really wants to go to this gymnastics meet? Because 'Cause are you worth $10? Like, is it worth you going? Are you gonna have $10 worth of fun to go to this gymnastics meet?
Or
Let's, like, have
can
this
or do you
conversation."
have to take them because there's, like, nowhere else for them to go? I think that's the thing with kids too is, like, if you have like 2 children. Imagine, if you will, just a couple kids, and you
I had
have
2 kids at the same time.
imagine that's all you had.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. You have one in a different sport than the other, or
Yeah.
one's like, and then to take them and you're like, "Well, I can either leave you with somebody or I can take you." And
Don't
maybe
you
what
feel like that's a lose-lose situation?
Yes.
Either I pay a ton of money for a babysitter,
Yes.
or I have to pay for you to get in the event, and then you're just bored the whole time, or I have to find things for you
Or
to
you have
do.
to spend $30 at the concession stand.
Yes.
I know at volleyball, like, it was just Shiloh at that point, like, I couldn't get her siblings to go, that was the difference, like, once you have the baby in sports, the baby has sat through all of their older siblings' sports growing up, like, they had to be there, but then when it's their turn, their siblings are gone, and they're like, "Oh, maybe I'll catch a game," and the baby's like, "I sat through 25 hours of you doing
Right?
laps." So, but it
It's true, there is some injustice in that. As youngest, we do need to talk about that.
it's like your sister was very into sports. I mean, she was a runner.
She was into track and cross country, which was, like, the most boring sports of all time. Like, there's sports that are fun to watch, and then
Yes.
there's track for hours, and you know what they do? They just run around the circle, that's it, and then they stop, and the next group go I mean, talk about a boring sport. I think I'd rather watch curling at this point than watch a track meet. And then if they're doing the hurdles and someone falls, you know, like when they get off of like their count and they're hitting every hurdle and like
Yeah.
then your heart's breaking for this poor athlete because they're just getting every hurdle. And I'm like, why am I watching this? So
This is
sad.
horrible.
It's so hard. Yeah, it's true. We just have to have a moment and shout out to all you youngest who did get dragged to all those sporting events. And then did your siblings come to watch you? No. No, they didn't.
They were
They
like,
didn't.
"I can drive now. Why would I do that? Like, I can watch myself now." Once they get to an age where either they have a sport that they're really into, so they're going a lot and they have rides and they have all that, they're not gonna go, or if they can just drive and decide when to be there. But I know at Shiloh's volleyball,
It's
like
the freedom of it. You're right.
yes!
When you're little, you don't have freedom. You
No.
don't have the freedom to choose if you're gonna go. You're right. But once you're driving and older, you know what, 16 and older, you have that freedom. And
Yeah, or
guess
even
what?
old enough to, like, be home, like, if you're in a safe environment, you're like, "I'm 15, and I can just have my friends over, I don't have to go." And then you're like, "Please, I'll buy you a snack, a treat, teenager." Like, how do you lure a teenager who can stay home alone? Like, it's rough, but, it's hard. It's rough, but it's hard. Just kidding.
That's great.
That's my
I
encouragement.
I know you wanna talk about Shiloh's volleyball because you keep mentioning it, and I keep
Oh, yeah.
cutting you off,
That's
but I
okay.
just wanna say about concession stands because I have to go work at one in a few weeks. I think I'm gonna get a shirt. Well, I mean, Ryan can cricket it because he's very into, like, cricketing. I
Love
think I
it.
want him to make me one that says voluntold. Like, that way no one
Yes.
can complain. Like, we all know what I'm doing right now. Like, don't complain, wait your turn. I'll get to you. We'll figure this out. Let me find that red Gatorade. But just kind of putting it out there, like, I am voluntold. This was not by choice. It's mandatory.
I
My
have to
mandatory
be
3
here.
hours.
So here's a question actually for you though. So Cole, I'm assuming, your youngest, is going wherever you go during your girls' activities and games and sports. How does he handle everybody's activities?
He loves dinosaurs. Literally, he brings a bag. We bring his backpack full of dinosaurs, and I let him choose whatever dinosaurs. And Riley had to cheer at 2 football games last week, so she cheered for 3 hours straight. And sure
Wow.
enough, he played with his dinosaurs for 3 hours straight. Now, don't get me wrong, because 'cause we're in the football stands. Nobody's sitting by us. There's nobody by us. We were spread out, we had lots of room, and then there was this man, like, way on the other side, and, like, Cole just kept getting closer and closer, and then, like, the guy kinda grabbed some of Cole's dinosaurs, and the guy was playing
Aw.
dinosaurs with him, which was sweet, but then I was like, "Okay, that's a football dad." Like, he's okay kind of playing dinosaurs during the breaks, but obviously he's there to watch his son play football. So I was like, "Come over here, Cole." Yeah, it's the toys. The toys, the toys, the toys. That's the only way. When the twins were little and we had to go to watch Riley at a sporting event, usually I would bring their toys, but then they would start to like fight over them or it only lasted for so long and then we would just bring out the iPads. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like, I'd literally have to put them in the double stroller, strap them in, and then it was like, "Okay, here's the iPads." That's probably when they were, like, 2 years old, because at 2, they're just going in different directions, and you're like, also for the safety of them. Like, I
Yeah.
had to be able to make sure that they were somewhat secure, so that way I could also focus. Because 'cause you're there to watch a child
Yes.
participate in a sport, not to take care of your other children constantly. You're like, "I really wanna watch Riley play basketball or, Peyton do gymnastics." And so it's also trying to figure out what to do with your kids so that way you can watch your child participate in that activity. Sometimes it's fun when there's siblings of the other players on the team. Like when Brooklyn was in soccer, there was a whole group of like younger sisters. So during the games,
Oh.
all the younger sisters played. It was like an hour of a play date for these girls. And we would just tell them, like, you guys can go from here to there and run around on this grassy area, and we could always see them. And that was fantastic because they were happy, we were happy, they're doing cartwheels, and
Yeah, they're
they
entertained.
they didn't know what was going on in the soccer game, but at least they were safe, and at least we're like, "Oh, look, it's a play date." Just
Yes.
like, "Isn't that fun? You get to go see your friend." That's kinda how we pitched it to the twins. "Don't you wanna go see your friend Margot? Like, come on."
That's so funny. I think that brings back a memory of, like, specifically, especially we lived in Mississippi not knowing people, of, like, looking for people who had kids my kids, like, younger's age to be like, "Hey, let's go meet them." Let's see if
Right?
they want and, I mean, kids are easy like that, and so I think my kids would eventually, like, find other kids to play with and stuff like that. But yeah, it's rough. Okay, so I told this to Angie and she's being such a good sport. I said this episode we're going to think more about the negative things. I'm scared to even say it out loud, but we're going to in Angie's hearing. Plug your ears. We're going to talk about the negative aspects of taking your kids to their sibling sports. But I promised her in the next episode, not only will we talk about the positives, but we'll also have tips and tricks for ways that you can make it through the hours upon hours that you spend watching your child either practice or play sports. It's the games are more fun because it's like a competition. Practice can be very boring. My kids in Mississippi did a couple of them did swim team, like my daughter plus a child that we're watching, a couple of them actually. And those practices and those meets are the worst because it's hot, you can't touch the pool, and it's just hours. It's kinda like racing, you're just swimming back and forth, swim back and forth, next kid's in the pool, swimming back and forth, and you can't touch the water. The kids can't touch the water. So, like, finding
Oh, the
things for them to
siblings can't
yeah, the
touch the water.
sibling. Yeah,
Right. They're
sorry.
hot, they're hot, they're
They're at a
sweating,
pool.
they're at a pool, and they can't go swimming. That
No, it's
sounds
horrible. It
horrible.
is horrible.
Jinx, I mean, what's worse? "Let's go to the pool, kids," but you can't swim. You're gonna watch other kids swim
I can tell you that my 2 youngers were like, "We don't ever wanna do the swim team." Like, that's horrible.
because they were scarred for
And I
life.
was like, "Thank you, because I don't wanna do any more practices or meets." The practices weren't as bad as the meets. The meets were longer. Sometimes there was lightning and everybody had to get out of the pool and they had to wait and they had to get back in the pool. At least those were a little cooler. But some of the negatives of making your kids go to these things, because that's what we do, right? Unless they know they're having a play date, we have to make our kids go. One, boredom, which isn't always bad, actually. I'm gonna say this, boredom is probably good for this next generation because they don't know what real boredom is. So, it's
Right.
probably good. 2, missed
Yeah, but
personal
to
act
pitch it to them
yeah.
is difficult.
It's gonna be boring and tedious, guys. Yay, come
So get
on.
in the car, grab your shoes, and get in the
Woo!
car. Okay, I know you have your list, but we do have to mention this.
Okay.
The bathrooms at a lot of sporting events are
Oh.
just awful. Some are fantastic and great and clean, but if you have, like, an evening game at the soccer fields, it's like, I just can't. Even the park at the end
I'm
of the
like, "The
day.
park." Dude, the parks
No.
by us for a minute, I don't know if they're still like this, but the parks by us for a minute, if there was, like, issues with drug use in those parks, the stalls wouldn't have doors.
Oh, no. That's even
But
worse.
they built a whole separate ball field, like, sports complex, so now they're good, but yeah, back in the day.
What if you did drugs, you went to one
Yeah,
bathroom?
like,
If you
this
didn't
is
do
the
drugs
drug bathroom, you don't get a door. If you're playing sports, you can go on this
say
side.
no to drugs was her picture with Nancy
Yeah.
Reagan.
They're like, "Oh,
Red
wrong
ribbon.
bathroom, wrong bathroom." But you also have to I haven't paid to go to this complex, but I heard it's like they're gonna charge parking. I'm like, "They are charging parents
No.
to
Parking?
park?" Yes, which I remember at tournaments paying for parking, paying to watch my child play, paying for all the things for her to even play, and then paying $15 for the acai bowls that everybody was eating in between matches, like, and plus my own concessions, which I needed treats because I deserve treats for all of that I had to do to be there. So I'm gonna get my treats. Okay.
Yes. I don't think calories count if you buy
No.
concession stand food.
No, your rage and anger is just burning calories inside.
And the sweat.
And the
You're
sweat.
either hot or it's
Or
cold.
freezing. Sometimes we're sitting there and, like, it felt like I'm like, "Is this usually used as a refrigeration area?" And then they just, like, opened it up. They put some nets in, and now it's volleyball. Okay, but negatives for children. We're not talking
Oh, not
about
for us.
moms.
Sorry.
Yes. But bathrooms is a good one, especially if you're potty training and your, like, child's, like, up to bat and they're like, "We gotta pee," and you're like, "Okay." You go, and as a mom, you come back, they're like, "Oh, your kid hit a home run," and you're like, "Oh, yay. Good job." "Did you see it, mom?" "No, I was with your sibling in the druggy bathroom." They didn't
Drug
have any Nancy Reagan bathrooms this time. Okay.
Okay, Grandma Vance would love that.
She
A Nancy
would.
Reagan bathroom. That's a new
It's all
term.
to say no to drugs. Thank you, Nancy, for that legacy. Okay. Your kids' negative things, missed personal activities. And I think this is true, especially on like if they have like a weekend tournament or something. And they're like, well, we have a birthday party, like my friend's birthday party, but you're like, our whole family is going to this game. And it's kind of like having to choose, and they miss birthday parties or they miss hanging out with their friends because they need to go to their siblings' game. Now, I know there's ways to work that out, but sometimes there's not, especially if it's an out of town event. And you're like, you either have to go to that birthday party for 8 hours or you come with us. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean. So that's a
Or
negative.
it's the divide and conquer. But then one only one parent is going to the game, so that way the other kid can go to the birthday party. But it's like, but both parents wanna go to the game.
Yeah.
So how do you meet all your children's needs?
Make everybody happy.
The
Sibling
lifelong
rivalry.
question.
Sibling rivalry can come up with that where you're like, "Oh, so you can't come to the game because you're this sibling wants to go to a party," or I want or the other way around, like, "Why do we always have to go to your whatever on the weekends? I wanna do something else. I wanna sit at the house and watch cartoons." But no, I mean, I don't know if kids do that anymore, but I wanna sit at the house and watch YouTube videos. I don't know, but it can
So
lead to
I
sibling
talked
rivalry.
to this twins mom once because twins moms just wanna talk to each other. Like, I've literally had
I
one
wanna talk to
conversation.
twins moms. I feel like twin mom adjacent, and if I see twins, I'm like, "I get it, girl.
I
Let's
literally
talk."
met this lady once, and we had this conversation about her twin boys, and they were in high school, and one twin was super athletic, and the other twin wasn't very athletic, and it was twin boys, and the one twin that wasn't very athletic, but he loved lacrosse, so he always played lacrosse, and she's like, "He did decent." But when you have, like, this stellar athlete of a twin who's just amazing at all the sports, and they never let the twin who was amazing at all the sports ever play lacrosse because it was the other
Oh.
twin's favorite sport, and it's like it was his one sport, and the lacrosse coach asked for the other twin to also join the team, and the mom said no. She was like, "Yes, it would totally make your team better because my son is that athletic," and because he would go out and practice with his twin, right? So, like, they would throw the ball back and forth and catch it with the lacrosse sticks and stuff. And so he knew how to play lacrosse. He grew up watching his twin play lacrosse. He'd practiced with him. But she told the coach, she's like, for my kids and their relationship, it is the best situation for him not to play lacrosse. And she said that twin never played lacrosse. I was like,
Wow.
oh, there's some wisdom there, like to
Mhm.
protect the relationship of the twins.
Which is gonna be lifelong. Lacrosse only
Right.
lasts for so long.
season,
It's
season
a
in your
season. It
life.
might even be like 4 years, unless
Two
there's, like, great bitterness over never getting to play. Okay,
He'll join the adult league. He'll probably play in college.
I know you will. Darn you. Okay, and this is my last one because we're running out of time. But and I think you'll agree, overexposure to sports can cause your child to never wanna do that sport or not like that sport,
Oh.
which I think swimming for our family, maybe for you, it's track. Maybe you're like, "We are
Well,
not
and
doing track."
I wasn't good at track. My mom signed me up for track in 7th
Did she?
grade. Yeah. I lost every single race. Every single
Amazing.
race. I got lapped in the mile.
You're probably talking to people. You're like, "Hey! Hey, girl, what's up?
In
I
my
like your shoes."
I probably was doing that. In my defense, for some reason, they had boys and girls competing at the same time for the mile, and it was, like, the best
Really?
boy. Like, he literally lapped me in the mile. So I did it 1 year, and I was like, "No,
Nope.
it's not my strength." But, yes, I mean, I currently don't have any children in cross country or
And
track.
you haven't asked like, "Hey, who wants to join cross country or track?"
No. In like, 6th grade, one of the coaches, like, from the high school, like, was watching the kids because they were doing this, like, track thing or whatever. All the kids had to participate. It wasn't a race or anything, and she actually went and was talking to Riley. Like, they were already starting, like, the high school coaches coming to talk to the 6th graders about, like, "Is this something you'd wanna do?" And when Riley came home and she was all excited, I was excited for her. I just did not overly encourage that to continue.
You're right. forgot about it.
You
Accidentally forgot
know.
about it. Oh, track. Oh, that's right. Here's some dance. Dance is fun to watch. Cheer. I like a good
Cheer.
cheer.
Let's sign you up for another cheer lesson and some tumbling.
So much more fun. Sorry to my cousin Danielle who ran. She was fantastic. She also cheered though. And Kate was a runner. I
Way to
mean,
go, shout out.
it's
There's no
fun.
bitterness here. Look at this all these years later, I'm still like, "Man."
My kids will not run.
Take that.
Okay, well, we have to end, but I want to remind you that we're done. We're now done with the negative. That next episode, we're going to talk about the positives to bringing your children, volunteering them to go to these activities, and some helpful tips and tricks to keep your kids occupied that involves more than just Gatorade and
Right.
nerds ropes. So,
Well, I mean, there was a time, maybe it was 2 basketball seasons ago when, like, when it's halftime at the basketball game,
mhm.
and so, like, the other siblings go, and that is fun, like, that's how you lure the kids
Yeah,
in, like, "Oh, yeah, let's
of
play
course.
basketball," super fun. Brooklyn threw the ball, and it hit the fire alarm. Fire alarm went off.
Of all the children.
We all had to leave. It's so loud.
That's amazing.
We had to exit everybody, both teams, all the parents, all the siblings. And it took the fire department a while to come.
Brooklyn broke the game.
And then, like, the whole fire department had to come in, right? Like, I mean, not the department, like the fire truck and everyone had to come in. They turned it off. But then the game, right, had to continue. So do you know what that did? It put every other game further and further behind off of schedule. Because we were like a morning
Oh
game.
my goodness.
Yeah, we were a
That's
morning game. And
hilarious.
she set off that fire alarm, and it was so, like, yep.
That's adventures of bringing siblings to your
Yeah.
to
Because,
watch.
like, that's you, like, lure them, like, "Oh, you can play basketball," like, shoot for the hoops or whatever, and, halftime. No, not the best idea. Or go to the other side where there's the fire alarm isn't there.
I feel like that's a mistake in the planning, like, of the building.
Yes, I blame the building, not my child.
The fire alarm should not be where you can hit it with a basketball during a basketball game. That's amazing. I love that for you, and I love that for Brooklyn. The power she had in that game. Just
But she wasn't playing.
ruined the whole day for everybody. I'm dying now. My asthma.
Oh, no. So like us, share us, tell a friend. Find us on YouTube at Mother Funny with Andie and Angie, and
That's
check
right.
us out next episode where it's the positives.
And if you have a funny story, please message us on the Instagram, and that's the one we check more often.
And if you were scarred for life because
Yeah.
of your siblings' sports activities, we'd like to hear that. I think a psychologist needs to research this. I wonder if there's more to that. How many kids chose not to participate in activities or sports because of their
Yes.
siblings? I'd be
Yeah.
interested in that.
Yeah, like, if you want your next sibling to be in it, maybe, like, bring them off and on. It better be, like, really fun. Like, make it really fun. Like,
Well,
they should've
Riley has the friend, and her sister does dance, like competitive dance, and is on the dance team. And this girl's an amazing dancer, and she's like, I don't know if I want to try out for high school dance because my sister's on the dance team. Like, her sister will have graduated by the end of this year, and the girl could, be on the dance team next year, and she's not sure about it. Basically, because of her sister. She's like, I've been to all those dance competitions, and
Those are
I've
long.
seen it.
They're so long. They're a full day, and your kid only dances so long. Okay.
Like us, share us, tell a friend.
We'll see
Bye.
you next. All right, that's all we have time for today. We got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But just remember, you might think you're doing just okay, but we think you're doing really great.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you have a great Mother Funny day. Please like and share our podcast.
But please don't tell our moms.